business in the state of California. So I think the legislature's got to take this up. If we issue IOUs again, the bond rating will go down, which will increase the cost of borrowing, which will actually make the budget deficit worse.
So if I were to state one overriding theme, many of the questions that I received tonight, I'd have to say that it is the dysfunctional politics of California. We talked about dysfunctionality. We all read about it every day. We see it on television. We see it on the internet. We hear it on the radio. So there's been a movement to get a constitutional convention on the June ballot here in California. That takes money because it requires signatures and it costs a lot of money to get signatures. But apparently, according to the Public Policy Institute of California, the shortfall of the $1 million required is very, very real. You've been following that. What do you think about that? Do you think there should be a constitutional convention initiative on the ballot?
So I read earlier this week that the group that is behind this constitutional convention has really suspended the fundraising to raise the amount of signatures that are required because the fundraising has been so small. They don't think they can.
Bay Area Council.
Yeah, the Bay Area Council, and they basically suspended the effort because they don't think they can raise the money. So I think the Constitutional Convention has actually real merit in many ways. You know, we have now the second longest constitution next to any state in the Union, next to Alabama. And I think if we knew what we knew now, would we write a different constitution? The answer to that is yes. But the devil is in the detail. Who sits on the Constitutional Convention? How is it convened? What issues are we going to tackle? And what I don't want to see is a Constitutional Convention that's sole objective is to overturn the 2/3 majority that is required to pass a tax increase and required to pass a budget. So if there is real merit and a real level playing field, I think there's some interesting things that we could tackle in the context of the Constitution. But I'm also a pragmatist, and my view is the next governor of California is not going to have a new constitution, and we better figure out how to make things work with the Constitution that we have.
So if there is an initiative for a constitutional question, or if there is not an initiative, there should be California reform of the governance of the state. And the real bad boy, the real elephant in the room, seems to be Proposition 13. People have been talking about Prop 13. What is your view on Prop 13? Should that be on the table in the reform of governance in California?
I don't actually think it should be. Property taxes are the one cost-effective thing that we have in California as both citizens and businesses. And people talk a lot about should we have split roles, meaning individuals abide by Prop 13, but businesses no longer have the advantages of Prop 13. And my view is this is completely the wrong thing. It is the one thing that we can point to businesses as a cost-effective reason to stay in California, that your property taxes will be relatively low. People say it's the part of the reason that we don't have the money to run the state. I don't think that's true either. If you look at the percentage of revenues that come in through taxes, the actual dollars per capita per citizen in California, we are in the top 10 states in the union. So while our tax makeup is different, we have a lower percentage of property tax than we do a sales tax or personal income tax, the fact of the matter is the total revenues that come into the state are competitive. And we have got to work the cost side of that. And as I said, because we are reliant on personal income tax and business income tax and sales tax, we've got to get the economy going again. Because if people are employed, employers are hiring people, they're paying taxes, individuals are paying taxes, they're spending money, so they're paying sales taxes. That's the way to solve the revenue crisis. So I don't think that we should touch Prop 13.
Actually, you're in agreement. You are in total agreement with a recent Commonwealth Club speaker, Tom Campbell, who's now running for senator. But I'm not going to ask if you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the fact is that he is, and he's a very capable individual. And he said that when he was the state finance director, that it was the best arrow in his quiver that he had to sell California to businesses out of state, that we did have control over property taxes.
It's the one competitive advantage that we have. I'd like to create other competitive advantages to keep businesses in California, but that's the one we have, and let's not give away that one.
How about the open primary? On the June ballot in California, primary voters will get an opportunity to vote on an open primary. It's a system that some people have referred to as the top 2 vote getters. And if adopted, studies have shown that there could be a more moderate political climate in the state legislature. I know you addressed that earlier.
Yeah. So I actually am for the notion of an open primary. The precise open primary that has been suggested I don't think is the right thing, because it does let the top 2 vote getters run for the ultimate office. And so what it could mean, in many districts it's 2 Republicans, in many districts it's 2 Democrats. I'm a big believer in the 2-party system, and so let's make these districts fair, or let's make a primary fair, so that you get, there's more competition between Republicans and Democrats. What's happened, of course, is that so many districts are safe in California that if you are a Republican, you're worried about being, what they call primary, meaning that someone who is even more conservative than you knocks you out of the box. Likewise, on the Democratic side, someone who's even more liberal than you is knocked out. So I think we ought to have an open primary, but not the kind that just results in the top 2.
Meg, didn't you talk briefly in your prepared remarks about Proposition 11?
I did.
You did mention that. So that's the redistricting proposition. So every 10 years, the federal government has a census, and once they get the results of that census, they have a reapportionment of the 435 seats in Congress, but then the states have to follow up, as I understand it, with redistricting plans. Today happens to be a very important day because in Proposition 11, it was determined that there would be a committee, for lack of a better word, of volunteers who would determine what the redistricting plan would be. And today's the last day, in case anyone here is interested, that you could volunteer to be a member of this redistricting committee. What is your view on redistricting?
As I said, I was a supporter of Proposition 11. I think this was the right thing to do. I think a citizen commission can do a very good job of appropriately redrawing the lines so that they make sense, and so I'm very hopeful about this. It will take a number of years to know whether it really works, because you've got to get through a few election cycles. You've got to get through the 2010 census, and you've got to get through a few election cycles. But I'm very hopeful that this will make a big difference to California.
So higher education in California is in jeopardy. Quality higher education. Cal Berkeley and UCLA are providing an education, according to many, which is equal to Stanford and the Ivy League schools. So shouldn't their tuition go up to the level of those other schools in order to ease California's educational budget burden?
So my answer to that is actually no. We have the envy of the world is our UC system. There was a report that was recently issued that listed the top 15 public universities in America, and California had 6 or 7 of the top universities. This is something we should be incredibly proud about, and the fact that we have provided access to a vast majority of California children over time, regardless of their ability to pay, I think is something that we should stand up for and we should be really proud of. And as I said before, while we are working this budget, while we are saving money to invest, we cannot compromise the UC system. This is another one of those things where we are a winner, where we have a competitive advantage, not unlike Prop 13. Let's not destroy this. Let's fully fund the UC system. Let's fund that innovation. Let's make sure that in 3 or 4 years' time we have another major UC system in that top 15 universities. So I'm an enormous defender of the UC system. And had an interesting chance to meet with the Chancellor, Mark Udoff, the other day, who said, listen, this first set of budget cuts maybe made us better. You know, everyone can operate a little bit more efficiently if a little more pressure is put on, but we have to be very careful that we don't cut into real muscle here and compromise what has been the innovation engine of California. And as I said, those ecosystems between the private enterprise and the public university system, every other state in the union tries to figure out how we do it. Austin does it a bit, Route 128 in Boston does it a bit, but we cannot lose these fabulous ecosystems of public, private enterprise systems. This is the source of the innovation engine, and I think we have to defend that at all costs. And I don't think we should be raising fees because I think it does discourage very qualified kids.